All right. Good evening, everybody. We'll call the Southborough Advisory Committee meeting to order at 7 p.m. Quorum of members are present. And we have a kind of a packed agenda tonight. Thanks to everybody. And I appreciate everybody's assistance for me being my first meeting as chair. Particularly thanks to Andrew Pfaff and Kathy Cook and Andrew Dunnington and others who've been very helpful. So looks like we have all members present, which is great. So we will be talking mostly tonight about the special town meeting warrant. Special town meeting is scheduled for October 27th, and we do have the draft warrant to review tonight, beginning with Article 1. So I don't know how many folks have been following along with the planning board and Article 1 and the select board actually as well. So Article 1 is a zoning amendment to add highway major retail to the industrial park district as a use that requires special permit. I hope I have that right. And we do have guests tonight who will be speaking to that. Planning board did meet last night and we can provide an update, and Mimi is here to do so. So Andrew, if you want to start by bringing over some of the members. Maybe we could also pull up the warrant.
Yeah.
For the specific
Mr. Buckley, Mr. Zink.
Tim Coskren also is from Atlantic Management.
Okay.
Marguerite and Mimi. I think I have everyone. Unless I'm missing Kathy under a different name. I know Kathy was hoping to be here. Hi, Marguerite. Are you here representing Select Board tonight?
I think there'll be quite a few of us here, but I guess I'm the first one.
It looks like you're the first, and so we'll wait to, I guess, for you guys to call a meeting to order since you don't have enough folks yet.
Quorum, so.
Yeah. So Andrew, do you want to pull up the warrant perhaps? Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
The article?
Yeah, the Article 1.
You want the red line version or the? I'll just go with the non-red line.
Yeah, you could put the non-red line. Mimi, we do have your red line version from last night. So thank you for sending that.
Thank you to Atlantic for sending that at 10 o'clock at night. Appreciate it.
Yes, yes, we did see that. So this is the article that we'll be discussing first off with the guests, providing us some information. So the highway major retail being added as a new definition. The industrial park district already exists. You guys are familiar with the Dell EMC property and properties along Route 9. So we know that that industrial park district already exists, but adding highway major retail as a special permitted use would allow Atlantic, who's the current owner of two of the former Dell or existing Dell EMC properties, to change the use basically, and as such we anticipate larger tax revenue from those parcels. So with that, Mr. Zink and Mr. Buckley, would you like to do sort of an overview?
Sure. Madam Chair, for the record, can you hear
Yes.
me? Yep.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good, good. For the record, Robert Buckley, Raymond Bronstein, I have on as Joe Zink, principal of Atlantic, and I believe Tim is on, Tim Coskren, also at Atlantic. we've been looking at this for a better part of a year. We spent a good deal of time when Atlantic acquired the property to look at repositioning the property. We reviewed many of the town records over the last few years to try to ascertain what the community would would desire to be at this site. We also try to, when we look at properties like this, we try to say, what can we do to reinvigorate or make this a magnet to attract additional development or activate the corridor. And I think that it's fair to say that for about 5 to 7 years, this property after Dell left has been trying to figure out what its identity is. So we looked at your master plan, which was well done and had certain, what a lot of them don't usually have, is clear articulated objectives. And it seemed to focus on the Route 9 corridor, and in particular on this site. At the same time, Atlantic had initiated discussions with Costco that was looking to establish a major footprint in this area. And it seemed to dovetail very nicely with some of the articulated desires of the community for a certain type of retail and activity. And from my standpoint, having worked with Atlantic in the past, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but it also provides opportunity to, through the use, achieve some mitigation. And we'll certainly go before the planning board at the right time for a special permit. But for instance, it was interesting to note in the reports of the town that oftentimes on a weekend when people do their activities of daily living, their routine shopping, etc., they have to travel a great distance, relatively speaking, for this part of the country to achieve those activities. And while it may not seem evident at first blush, what that does is adds traffic to roadways, and it causes congestion in in areas that really are not designed on the weekends to handle that. So we said, if we put our efforts together, we can design something that will address many of the concerns that the town had raised and many of the desires. And through that, we said, okay, you have a zone along Route 9 called the Industrial Park Zone. It has certain uses that are permitted with a special permit. And oftentimes uses become, like everything else, stale as the economy and things. Zoning should always be dynamic as things change. So we said, well, let's try to come up with a definition. First of all, we didn't want to complicate the procedure. We wanted to come up, the simplest way to say is let's come up with a definition of a new use that reacts to today's marketplace and is designed specifically for this corridor and specifically for this site, to use this as the nucleus that we can then develop activity around this site. And I know that we had extensive discussions with the planning board, an overlay versus a zoning text amendment, which this is, because through it, Atlantic has had tremendous success in the past doing overlays in adjacent communities to Southborough, such as Marlborough and Westborough. But we suddenly eventually came to the realization we have an overlay by accident in many respects here, because within a relatively small distance, we have some industrial, we have some commercial, we have some multifamily residential, and we said, why don't we capitalize on that, keeping the definition simple, but achieving the overall objective, which is to provide this desired use. So we tailored the definition to include the types of uses that we feel the town wanted to see here. So it's not opening the floodgates, so to speak, and allowing anything and everything in. And then we tailored certain criteria that if you were designing this as a planner, you may want to look at and say, how do we mitigate traffic? How do we step the building back from the main street so that it doesn't have a presence on the street? So it's not a, and I use this figuratively, it's not a traditional New England strip mall. So you create a certain sense of place, and then provide some flexibility to have some complementary uses around this site, so that when I say around, I mean adjacent to, so that if someone comes here and they want to do their shopping and then they want to grab, lunch or coffee or maybe some type of specialty store, bank perhaps, or some other activity, to provide that flexibility so when they come on site, they could stay on site and they can achieve some of their activities of daily living on a weekly basis. And at the same time, Atlantic had been talking to Costco, and Costco loves the location, loves the demographics, and as we go through the process and we do our political outreach for town meeting over the next few weeks, I think the residents of the town will see that Costco is a very active and proud member of a community in which they're located, in terms of employment, in terms of social activities. If you look at the data that we'll be distributing and talking about over time, you'll see that the employees are well treated, well compensated. They have a very low turnover rate. They focus on the student population in terms of providing part-time jobs as well as scholarship opportunities. So we looked at all this and then we said, okay, let's try it. And we went public about 3 or 4 months ago, and we've been working with the planning board trying to fine tune it, and had some very productive and interesting discussions. And I think that's how a town meeting process should work. That's why the planning board has jurisdiction to recommend to town meeting. It's a bilateral process where the product coming out the end is hopefully the best product we could do in the time. And we've been before the planning board. I think we're almost there. There are maybe some small little tweaks that we'll make. We want to talk to the building commissioner, inspector. They had some concerns with definitions of alternative uses, so we may fine tune some of those. But other than that, I think we've made significant progress. We have a few weeks before town meeting, and we're going to be doing a community outreach. And I know I've been talking a long time, and I know you have a crowded agenda, so I think I will stop now, and I'll ask Joe and Tim if they want to add anything to that.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. I think that's a good overview to start. And I think one thing, if we could start out, it took us roughly 2 years working with Dell to purchase both 21 Causland and 32 Causland. And they've both been vacant approximately 7 years. And so right now there's 3 buildings inside this development, 21 Causland, 32 Causland, and 9 Crystal Pond Road. And currently 2 of them are vacant, and Cytiva is probably out this week. So there's 3 buildings in there for 620,000 feet. All will be vacant. So our goal, and we have tremendous confidence in this area, and we believe in it. I think the plan board did a great job in terms of putting together an economic development plan, which we did study pretty thoroughly when we started all this. We think we can bring more economic activity and create more like business development in that area. In fact, this afternoon, we had a broker open house at 32 Causland, which is roughly 190,000 feet. And we had roughly 35 commercial brokers, all specialized in the Metro West, Boston area, come out. It took us 6 months to do the demolition inside that building. It was raised floor. It was probably 4,500 2x2 40-pound tiles of raised floor that we had to remove out of there. Ductwork, office, and so it's all wide open now, cleared out, painted the columns and the walls, painted the exterior of the building, re-landscaped it. We're going to end up paving it, putting a new roof on. So we're going to make major capital investments in the community because we believe in this area. And I think by adding across the street a mixed use, and I think if you look at the future of suburban office industrial parks, mixed use is the future. As Bob was touching upon earlier, and we did very successfully in Marlboro, where we have lab space, built a hotel, multifamily, daycare center, all on, and that development went from roughly 800,000 a year to over $4 million a year in taxes. So when these uses come together, you create a synergy, and they all benefit from each other. And what's also nice too is the traffic patterns are different. Costco, they don't open till 10 a.m. Their busiest time is on a Saturday at noon, versus a typical industrial R&D tenant. They come in at 8:30 or 9 in the morning. So the more the mixed use, the same as the multifamily, they're going the opposite direction. They're leaving in the morning when other people are coming. So I think the mixed use concept that we want to achieve in here, I think will be a win for the community and strengthen the tax base. And as Bob said, we need to activate this area. It's you drive through it now, it is, I mean, incredibly quiet. It's like a ghost town there.
One of the things that I would like to touch on that came out of this process with the planning board, which initially I was concerned about because I did sometimes local politics. I actually grew up in this area, so it's coming back after 40 years, but things have changed dramatically. But was the request to make the planning board the special permit granting authority, which we have agreed to do. And as we thought it through, and just what Joe was indicating, in my estimation now, I think it is a very intelligent and efficient move, because you have the one board from a planning standpoint that will be involved with repositioning this site from inception of the zoning through hopefully the implementation of various product types. So there'll be a natural history and an efficiency where you have someone who will, some members who will be able to comment what the intent was and how we moved it forward. And this was, so there's that continuity, which I think leads to a much better project in the long run. So I just want to add that. That was one of the things that came out of the process.
Great. Thank you both. Mimi, would you like to comment at all from the planning board perspective? And I see Kathy has joined us, so either select board. There you go, Kathy. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up. We could start with you and then Mimi as well.
We just have 3 members, Marcy, so we need to call.
Okay. Okay.
I think Andrew's going to bring over Tim Flink. So Tim and
Okay.
are here. So that's all I want to do first, and then back to
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank
so
you.
Marguerite, you should call. You're the vice chair, so you should call the meeting to order.
Okay, I call the Southborough Select Board meeting for September 30th, 2025 to order on Zoom.
Great. Thank you both. Perhaps we could start maybe with Mimi. Mimi, would you like to just update what the planning board discussed last night and kind of where you're at in your process?
Sure. So we've had public hearings since the middle of August, and last night we were looking at version number 6. There was just a teeny little tweak on that, and we received version number 7 at 10 o'clock last night, which was very helpful. The planning board was just wanted to make sure that this zoning is the best for the town, and that the use couldn't be utilized on a site where it was inappropriate. So we worked very hard on that. I think last night we took a straw poll, and 4 members are comfortable with the bylaw as it is now. One wasn't ready to commit, but we will. We meet again on the 20th, and then we'll meet on the 27th, and we'll have a report for town meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Kathy, would you like to give an overview of select board or thoughts that you have before we go to advisory members for any questions?
Thank you, Marcy. So hi, everybody. So I just want to back up a little bit and kind of do a big picture. I kind of hate to follow Mr. Buckley and Mr. Zink, but I guess that's what I'm having to do here because
Sorry.
they talk so well. We were approached. I've known Tim Coskren for well over a year now. I've been talking to Dell for a long time about their property. They tend not to move very fast, I think, as Atlantic knows. And then got to know Tim as they started closing on the various parcels they've closed on as they said a minute ago, 21 and 32 Cosland. But more importantly, this group came to this town in the right way. They came to us the first of the year and they asked to meet with a selected group of people that would be involved in this process, including planning, assessor, building commissioner, TA, select board, et cetera. So we had a couple of meetings with them. And from the very get-go, they said the following. We understand how local town government works. We have been very successful in projects around you, specifically Westboro and Marlboro. We've added $4 million of commercial tax revenue to each town with those projects. But we want to work with you. We want it to be a win-win. We don't want to work against you. So if there's a town that's going to fight us, we're just going to go someplace else. So we just want to up front get an idea of whether this is something that you're receptive to doing. We said, yes, we really appreciate the fact that you approached us this way. This is not what we're used to having happen. And since then, we've gotten to know them much better and have really enjoyed working with them. We think that they are a total professional group. Mr. Buckley probably knows zoning better than almost anybody in the state. He's been doing it for a long time, full time, all day long.
Not that old.
Okay, well, I'm not. I
Yeah,
forget what
yeah.
okay.
Yes, you are.
Anyway, I said a long time. I didn't say. Okay, long.
Okay,
Okay,
said a long time.
Yeah. There's-
they have, once they announced, they basically, Mr. Buckley wrote the original proposed zoning article. And for the first time in my memory, it was one that you actually could read from the very get-go and understand. It's simple. Most people town meeting will be able to read this and understand it, which is very hard. Zoning is just hard. And it's hard to boil things down so that an average person can understand it. They did that. They have worked very cooperatively with the planning board from the very get-go and have made much progress. The planning board has been very receptive and very professional on their side. So we're to the point that they had a meeting last night where I think that they've got an article that is pretty close to being ready to go on the warrant. We're hoping we get an article that doesn't need to be amended. It's not a good thing to amend a zoning article if we can have it. Select board has tried very hard to end up with a warrant where this is the focus, and I think we've done that. The articles after this, I'm not going to say there's not discussion to be had, it's going to be some disagreement, but there's nothing really controversial after this one. I wouldn't even call this one controversial. This is not a theoretical article. This article is needed to allow this project to go forward. So timing is important, which Mr. Zink will tell you. This does need to go forward October 27th. We need a 2/3 vote. So we're hoping that we have that kind of support. We're trying to come up. We've put together a set of meetings with various key groups in town to explain this and let people ask questions of Mr. Zink and Mr. Buckley and Tim. So there you are, guys. So they're here tonight to answer any specific questions you have: traffic, timing, real estate tax, revenue projections, etc. So I just my point was to let you know that this group has really added a whole lot of benefit to this town. And we think with this project, we really may start turning the tide toward getting the split between commercial and residential going the other way, which advisory select board has talked about for years now. It's been going the other way. So maybe this is going to truly start the reversal that we have tried to achieve.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other select board members want to comment or have any additional items to share related to the article?
Not for me.
Miss- Okay. Tim, I'll take that as a no.
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Coskren, do you have anything to add? I'm sorry I didn't call on you in the beginning.
No, that's quite all right. I think
Okay.
both Bob and Joe have outlined it pretty succinctly there, so I'm good.
All right, well,
Thank
maybe
you.
we'll have questions as we move forward. So at this point, I'll take questions from advisory members for the group. I'm going to start with you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mercy. I mean, yeah, I think that the article is pretty self-explanatory. I think it answers all the questions people may have, and it really isolates it to the one parcel, so you don't have to worry about it being spread around to other areas, which I think was one of the concerns. So, I think I'm in favor of the article and the project. I mean, if you looked at the town zoning maps and said, okay, where if we were going to put some major commercial in Southborough, there probably isn't a better parcel in town. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is you're going to use Westboro septic or sewer, tie into that probably.
Correct.
So I mean, from a environmental perspective, from a traffic perspective, you'll have you would exit onto Route 9, and then there would be a kind of a back way onto Crystal Pond. Is that kind of the general idea?
Yes, and we will complete a full traffic study when we're in front of the planning board if we're successful. And I assume if people are going to head east, they can go out either way. If you're going to head west, you'd go out Crystal Pond, use the light.
Which I think, I drove that the other day, and there's no residential besides Madison Place way up the hill, so it's kind of an isolated. So again, to be able to get to a commercial property that doesn't abut residential, that doesn't have doesn't go through a neighborhood and what that basically empties onto Route 9, I think you couldn't pick a better parcel in town that I can think of. So and also looking at Costco as a corporation, what they do for their local communities and charitable donations and things, and it sounds like it's a pretty good slam dunk. The other one, I do believe that the meals that they serve at Costco, your hot dogs and your pizza and et cetera, that people love, would be subject to the town's meals tax, which advisory put through a few years ago. So I think that's another, besides the property tax, there should be some additional tax revenue for that, for increased meal sales in town. So, another favorability from my mind. That's it, Marcy.
All right, thank you. Barry, you have questions for the group? Comments?
No questions. I do want to compliment Planning Board and Atlantic for the time they spent in the process and how they've dealt with the few objections there seem to be at the beginning with regard to possible risk to other parts of Southborough from this, and the way they've structured and narrowed the definitions to essentially eliminate that possibility. It's hard for me to see what a real objection to this can be. I think it really is a win-win for the community, not just the tax money, but having Costco in the community as something, as someone pointed out, right now you have to go a bit of a ways to find what Costco offers. And I think we're all familiar with Costco's reputation. So I think this is a great project for the community, and I'm fully in support.
Thank you, Barry. Tim?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I don't really have any questions about the project per se. I think it sounds like a great idea. It's exciting. I did have a couple questions, small questions about the warrant article verbiage itself. So maybe that would be for the planning board.
Yeah, I think Mimi is still here. Yes, Mimi's still here, so you can put it back up. I don't know if we have the red line version, Andrew, maybe. There was some, or at least Mimi can speak to it. Go ahead, Tim.
Trying to see it. Okay, right on the left page, at the bottom, where it says in connection with the foregoing, and we talk about lots that directly abut a lot where we would have highway major retail. Now I know what the spirit and the intent of this is, but we do have some sections in town that are industrial park that abut residential. And I'm wondering if this is going to turn into some kind of a potential loophole.
Well, Madam Chair, if I could, may I comment on it?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, the intent is it has to be tied to the major the highway major retail use. And the intent is there's a ring road, for lack of a better term, that will circumvent or circumnavigate the facility so that
Right. Yes, sir. I'm not even concerned about the facility that we're talking about tonight.
okay.
But the language is not specific to the facility, it's specific to industrial park throughout town. And what I'm saying is that there are other areas completely unrelated to this project, but there are other areas, for example, up north bordering Marlboro, where we do have a combination of industrial park and residential right tucked in with each other. And what I want to make certain is that the language is written tightly enough is that that residential land cannot be, the uses remain as intended.
A valid point. We tried to address that on the lead and saying in connection with the foregoing being the highway major retail. But if we'll take a look at that and maybe tie it closer together with that so that the subsection, my eyesight is terrible, so maybe I am as old as the.
We're both.
You are.
Thanks, Joe. That we'll tie it together so it clearly it modifies just the first section.
Yeah, I looked at the map and just to doubly clear, like I have no concerns about this language in regards to the project that's being presented.
Valid
But
point.
this is going to be relevant to all of our industrial parks, so we have to dot our I's.
I think the phrase that this planning board consistently used was, "We want to avoid unintended consequences."
Thank you. That's well said.
Could I comment, Marcy?
Yes. Go ahead, Mimi.
So it does say lots or lots directly abutting a lot containing the highway major retail use, in that the only lot that can contain that use is on the 21 Causland.
But if you look at the zoning map for the town, we have industrial park in different areas. Right? I'm not talking about this area of town. I'm talking about other areas of town.
So your concern, Tim, is those other additional supporting or complementary uses could be used on other industrial park?
So if you have, if let's say we have industrial park right on our northern border with Marlboro, and I'm totally making up this scenario, so forgive me. If somebody put in a highway major retail on one of those industrial park lots, it could have an abutting lot that is currently residential. And my concern is that the way this is written is that that residential lot would suddenly now have new uses.
I see what you're saying, but this, the way the bylaw is written, the major highway retail use can only be on one lot. It calls out the specific parcel. So the complementary or supporting uses can only be abutting that lot.
Right, but
So the major highway retail use couldn't be on any other industrial park parcel.
I mean, you could basically replace the lot containing a highway major retail use with parcel 25000-004A is basically what you're saying. Not that you would, but I mean,
right.
basically that's the only lot that you have to be either on that lot or abutting that lot for this section to
apply.
Correct.
Madam Chair, we'll take a look at that. And even if it's redundant, redundancy for the sake of clarity sometimes is not a bad thing.
You can tighten it up.
Yep.
You may even want to just change the word "the lot" into "this lot containing highway major retail use."
Yep.
That would be a
Understood.
simple way.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. That's great. I understand.
Great. Any other questions, Tim?
Did I have a second question? Yes, I heard the term mixed use thrown out, and I know that I just wanted to point out that I don't think our zoning enables mixed use except in the downtown district. Is that correct? So is that another change that we would have to consider?
Madam Chair, may I respond to that?
Yes. Please.
When we use mixed use here, the mixed use that we're referring to is that we have, if we drew a circle around all of the property on, let's say, the former Dell campus. In that area, we have commercial, we have down the street, we have residential multifamily. It's not necessarily part of this parcel, but in the close geographic area, you
Okay.
have mixed use, but we're not creating mixed use here, other than complementary uses to service the highway major retail.
Great. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I believe Larry has his hand up. Larry, you want to go next?
Sure. I pretty much agree with everything that Andrew and Barry said. I fully support this. I just had one question about the article. I've been reading drafts of this for the last few weeks, and something that I just couldn't figure out, and it might be very simple, is that at the very beginning, it says a single tenant facility containing no less than 50,000 gross square feet. And then in bullet F, it said it shall contain a minimum of 125,000 gross square feet. And I just haven't been able to figure out how those two numbers relate to each other. Other than that, I have no other questions.
Madam Chair, again, may I respond?
Of course.
The intent was to make sure that if you have a large format structure, 125,000 square foot structure, that at least 50,000 square feet of that structure has to be devoted to a, lack of a better term, a grocery type use, so that you wouldn't be able to put a Home Depot in there, for instance, that doesn't have that component, which seems to be a very critical component for the town. But again, we'll do a cold read of it to make sure that if we can tighten that up, we will. So to the planning board chair, you may have version 7 soon. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Howard.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Tim got my big question. I heard that mixed use thing and it kind of perked my ears. That's the first time I had heard that term. And I have been following this, especially as I got through planning, et cetera. So from what I heard tonight, which confused me from what I understood, there were 3 buildings that are now owned by you?
We own 2. We do not own the third one.
Third one is 9 Crystal that you were.
Correct. The Cytiva currently occupies.
That's around the corner. So we don't, that's possibly in play as well. And I keep getting turned around. Costco was potentially going into 21.
20, correct. And 32, we just finished the demolition and started the rehab, doing the exterior of the building.
And no idea what's going in there. I hear it can't be a Home Depot, and I'm like, why not? That's
no, it would end up being a R&D flex type tenant, most likely.
Okay. As someone who was right across 9, I'm actually think this is still the best site in town to do this. It's about time. So I'm all for it. I'm digging into the language. The traffic makes perfect sense. You have Crystal Pond, you have Washington out to Flanders. There's several egress paths. Have you discussed this all with MassDOT, looking at all the problems they seem to be challenging at this part of Route 9 for some reason?
We have not yet, only because we don't have a project yet until we have the zoning. But we're working with them right now on a new intersection on Otis Street and Route 9. So we're very familiar with them. In fact, we're helping Westboro secure a new intersection.
Awesome. Again, I see no problem even with the traffic. There's plenty of egress on it. I just know they're very particular with 495 being right there. There's
exactly right. You're exactly right. Yep.
And we've been dealing with that for years. So having that resolved is fantastic. You own the buildings. What about all the land around it that was part of the campus?
Time will tell.
So not yet, but it's under negotiation.
I can't say anything, but time will tell.
I'm just wondering what gets developed next, because, and if I'm not mistaken, a lot of that is in the next town, correct?
Portion of it is correct.
Okay. Love the idea, love the revenue. Obviously want as much of it in our town with it, not just getting the traffic from the other side. Is the
In fact, with 21 Causeway, we intentionally put the structure in Southborough, not Westborough.
And we appreciate that. So thank you. Like I said, I've been following this. I'm a fan of the project. As Kathy alluded to earlier, trying to get back to the 80-20 or better tax break is something of importance to us. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. It's a partnership between these things only work if it's a true partnership between the community, the developer, and the tenant, and everyone has to be in the same place. That's why this communication and a dialogue we've been having with the community has been very productive, and it helps create a better project. It really does.
I know our planning board's all over this, so I'm confident that once the bylaws finalized and they're satisfied with it, we should have what's good for the town as well. So thank you to Mimi and the board for looking at it as well. So.
All right, thank you, Howard. Eric, last but not least.
Sure. So I thank you for the presentation. I actually did catch the planning board meeting last night, so a lot of it was just follow up. So look, I think this is a great opportunity to develop a piece of land that's been quiet for a long time. Some of my questions were already answered. I think the big one that I have is, and just not being a zoning nerd like perhaps some other folks on the line, what's the risk with the approach, or is there a risk? And maybe there's a question more for Bob or the attorney, from a legal perspective and the spot zoning consideration that was bubbled up last night. Is there any risk, or where do you see risk in potentially getting this approved? And I guess however it goes up to the state channels and up the flagpole.
We're not worried about the spot zoning. As my partner indicated last evening, and I do apologize, I had a town meeting in another jurisdiction yesterday, so I did it from my car. I was referred to as looking as if I was a ghost, I guess. Spot zoning, in the cases cited and referenced by an interested party were 50, 60, 70 years old. The current status of the law in spot zoning, again, as I said earlier, zoning has to be dynamic and it's evolved over time to respond to economic conditions. And communities now take a more active role in doing master plans and planning their future. So as long as there is a legitimate public purpose or a consistency with an overall design template, the courts have said that the burden to argue spot zoning is extremely high, and every presumption is that the community in governing themselves have determined that it's an appropriate use for the parcel. That's why we spent a lot of time researching the town's history and background as to economic development and what their interests were. And in some respects, we spent a lot of time reaching out to the community through the planning board and others to make sure that we're focused on the right target. So the long-winded response is we're not worried about that because we do think the law is clearly on our side.
All right, thank you for that. And my next question is, again, appreciate that you don't have a project, but typically, like if you look at ancillary businesses that would complement a Costco, what are they typically in other developments where they've gone in any sense?
You may have a
restaurant,
I don't want to call it a fast food, but not a white tablecloth restaurant perhaps, but families will be shopping there and it might be something like that. You might have a eye store or that maybe a dental store, a dental practice, but generally something that is complementary to the family retail experience.
So it fits with the theme just for efficiency for shopping it.
That's right.
And just my only last question is from the traffic perspective. I know the Costco and Waltham, and you think about the volume. I think it was mentioned earlier, renting out onto a state highway versus I think Bear Hill Road in Waltham. Just curious, thoughts on traffic based on the anticipated volume. And I know traffic studies have been done, but I got to believe that Route 9 would just make it easier in some ways relative to other locations.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's easy
historically,
on, easy off.
yeah, and historically, I was involved way back when on that side of 128 in Waltham. And over the years, there's been a desire for many of those businesses to try to relocate because it is, when you get off the highway there and you go down Second Ave, et cetera, it becomes almost a maze. Here we have easy on, easy off. We have a controlled intersection, and we have much more flexibility. And the site was designed for a much larger footprint of Dell with much more traffic at peak hours. So we have tremendous flexibility. So in response to the question earlier that we haven't looked at, we haven't spoken to DOT, that's correct. But we have spent a lot of time analyzing. When we do speak to DOT, we'll be in a position to answer their questions with data that supports our position.
Yeah. No, that's actually just a quick follow on. If you think about getting westbound, that's the tricky part, right? Because typically right now you do the U-turn at Crystal Pond. Would you envision, just thinking ahead, if you were to design the traffic pattern, would it be ideal to empty out onto Crystal Pond Road to go west, or you'd utilize both the U-turn and the Crystal Pond Road access? How do you think you'd approach that?
I think it would be Crystal Pond Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. It's clean. It's straightforward.
And I imagine it'd be signage, et cetera, just to direct people to. I mean,
Yes.
they could always do the U-turn, but that makes sense. Okay. No, I think this is great, and appreciate the time and effort that has gone into this and all the pre-work. But this is, I think, a very good thing for the town.
All right, I think
Excellent.
that
Thank you.
concludes advisory members. I don't have any questions, though mine were answered with various questions asked by other members. You answered my traffic question with the Crystal Pond Road. My thoughts after talking with everyone certainly was it's a prime location, which is currently desolate and yielding very little tax revenue. The timing is excellent, related to boosting tax revenue because we have a lot of financial needs. It's the best opportunity on the right parcel. I can't think of a more ideal place in town. And the master plan is a big one too. So we really appreciate the work being done by Planning Board, Select Board, and Atlantic to bring this forward.
And if I could just make one additional comment before my computer dies, it's telling me you better get up. In addition to the tax revenue, there'll be significant one-time revenues in terms of fees, building permit fees, et cetera. So it will be a very positive short-term and long-term from a fiscal standpoint.
All right, Andrew?
So one question maybe for Kathy is, when are we going to have the version that's going to be in the warrant so that we can take a position on it and get it printed in there? Because obviously it sounds like the version we have in front of us is not going to be the final one. So I don't know, Marcy, if we can word a motion to basically, be like not substantive, we would vote on it, but or we might just have to call a short meeting once we see the final language. But
I don't know if there's thoughts about when we might have a final version, or we could vote on a support the article pending further revisions at the discretion of Planning Board and Select Board. Kathy?
So I don't know. That answer is, assuming Mimi's still here, she could probably give us a better, but so Select Board schedule is as follows. We are going to sign the warrant on October 7th. So therefore, what the hope is that by October 7th, we've got an article that we believe is final. One that doesn't need any further adjustments. Again, we're trying to avoid having any type of amendment at town meeting, if at all possible. So therefore, it would need to be finalized by October 7th. I'm not sure how the Planning Board intends to make these last few final changes, but I will say this also. Advisory's role is to advise town meeting. That's one of your principal bylaw requirements. But you're also required to write a report to town meeting. So I'm hoping that this time, because this is so important, that you can get that report done by the 18th, which gives residents 2 weekends to read the report. Because a lot of people catch up with their reading on the weekends. So give them 2 full weekends to be ready for that Monday night to actually read your report, which usually carries a whole lot of clout. So I'm hoping that this gives you time with what's happening tonight, with whatever Mimi's going to say as far as how they're going to finish this article up to give you time to to vote, obviously, and then write the report that explains why you voted the way you did.
Madam Chair, we'll have the clarification, and I view the comments tonight as clarification comments. We'll have those to the planning board as well as to the advisory board tomorrow. I mean, they're basically easy fixes to clarify some of the questions, and then the planning board, one would hope would be okay with those. They still have the discretion, but at least for purposes of printing the warrant, I think we'd be comfortable with these clarifications.
Okay, thank you. Mimi, any comments? And then Eric?
So the planning board was comfortable with the version 7 that is before you. We don't meet again until the 20th. So if there's any changes, we won't be able to sign off on those until the 20th. So I was hoping that this was the final version, and 4 out of 5 of us were comfortable with this version that is before you.
All right. Kathy, you still your hand up? Kathy, then Eric, maybe you have something else to say? Okay.
So each board, 4 out of 5 are happy with what they agreed to last night. Bob, is there anything that really does need to be changed, even given the comments you heard tonight?
No, what I would suggest from a legal standpoint in the planning board recommendation, maybe that from a legislative history standpoint, they could add some language to the effect that the intent is, for example, on the second paragraph, that only applies to that parcel. The question was, so in their report, so there's a legislative history that if anyone had any questions, such as the building inspector, et cetera, they could look at the recommendation from the planning board.
Okay. Eric, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just had one last question. As you think about the broader development of the property around the Costco, how does that figure in with the property line for Westboro and where the other businesses could be located? And coupled to that is, would that also, would they be able to leverage the grandfathering of the legacy access to sewer? As you think about the broader development of that property and other businesses that could be placed there and ideally stay entirely within Southborough?
There's a SOAR agreement in place, and it's between ourselves and Dell. We control all of it, 50,000 gallons a day.
Okay. And then the Costco, any sense like what percentage of that capacity it utilizes?
It won't be that much.
Okay. So you've got excess capacity for sewer. And then the question is just the design of whatever Costco is to allow, I mean, again, probably something, I don't know if it's a negotiation or just something you do at developing your plans, the ability to put the other businesses so they reside. I don't know how much of that lot resides in Westboro, if it's a small fraction or large fraction.
Say 30%.
Okay, so there's a possibility that something could land up in Westboro.
No.
Okay.
There'll be nothing else on that main lot.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask one quick question, Marcy? Sorry.
Of course, Marguerite.
It was mentioned in the planning board meeting last night that Gene Novak had a suggestion that some definitions be included.
Well,
Or
there are 2 definitions. One was on fuel store, fueling stations. We were going to add the word automotive fueling.
Okay.
And the other one was food service, and we were going to do a paren countertop, fast food, etc. So that if for purposes of the discussion of your recommendation, you can assume those changes will be made.
Okay, thank you. And I had one other question. Mixed use, is that a term that can possibly have several meanings?
It's not part of the zoning. It's the mixed use here is what's on the ground today. We're not altering it. We're not advocating for it. If you go out there today, you have mixed use, but for retail. You have residential down the road. You have commercial. You have service on Route 9 with some gas stations. So it's almost as if by accident or by evolution you have mixed use. We're not creating a zoning template that's going to permit mixed use on this parcel.
Okay, thank you. I'm devil's advocating that nobody gets up on town meeting floor and asks what I just asked you.
Yep. No, it's a good question, but
Yes. Yep.
That's why we asked the exact same. I think Tim and I had the same idea that it was mixed use. I think is a negative term in this town right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a meaning to a lot of people in town.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not advocating it, not suggesting it. It is nowhere in the text amendment. That's why we decided to do a text amendment versus an overlay permitting mixed use.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Kathy?
So I'm just going back again to try to get to this article, a final article for October 7th. So Bob, are you saying that after planning board meeting last night, you did incorporate some minor changes and sent that back to?
Yeah, we added the one thing, and I will be adding those two things that, I mean, your recommendation could be that with those two caveats that I just spoke about, automotive fueling and what type of food service, countertop fast food, et cetera. And then on the second B, to just tie it back into the parcel referenced above, parcel, if the, subject to those changes being made, that would be your recommendation.
Okay, so nothing that I've heard tonight and what you just said makes me think.
It's not substantive.
With those. Right?
It's not
If anything, it's clarifying, it's tightening it up. So I'd say make those changes, get those submitted to planning office and select board. So that is what we include when we sign that warrant and goes to the printer on October 7th.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that.
Agreed.
Can I
All
ask?
right.
Marcy, before I go, one more again, Pierre thing. So next Thursday at 7 o'clock, the select board is going to hold a public forum to allow, and so Atlantic will be there to allow anyone from the public to ask any question they want to about the project itself. They can ask about the article. It would be emphasized that this article has to pass to get Costco, but it's going to be to really let people ask about the project itself. So it'll be by hybrid meeting. We'll be in the McAuliffe hearing room if people want to come in person, but it'll be next Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Quick question, if I can. So
Yes, sorry, Howard.
when you mentioned automotive, is that upon, I know Costco has gas, is that part of the plan or possibly part of the plan or just?
Yes, it is part of it. Correct.
Yeah, okay. And Marcy, I don't know if we're entertaining the audience for this or waiting till public comment, but someone did have a hand up. So.
Hold on, let me see here. Do we have attendees?
Kristen, you want me to allow her to talk?
Yes, you can bring Kristen over if it's relative to this before we move on. That we would welcome Kristen's comments.
Thank you, Kristen Laval, Southwood Drive. Is my volume okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Just a quick question. I'm 100% in support of this project. I agree, listening in some of the planning board meetings, it's been really collaborative. But keeping with the theme of unintended consequences, last night at the planning board, at the end of the public hearing, there was someone representing a lawyer there, I believe the owners of Park Central, who read a letter into the minutes expressing what, I'm not a lawyer, but I guess implying that this was biased and that there could be cases that are precedent to what they're suggesting. Again, I don't want to try to unpack it. I'm not a lawyer. And I wouldn't expect anyone to have a response, this evening. But my question is, in anticipation of maybe squashing this before the town meeting, is that something that you'll plan on publicly addressing?
Yeah, we're not afraid. I mean, first of all, your town council has weighed in on it and agrees with us. Someone can assert anything and everything that they want in a public forum, but we're not worried about it. We feel very comfortable. The gentleman last night is the head of our litigation department, is well versed in land use matters, and we feel confident we'll be in a position to address it. But oftentimes you don't want to get into a dispute, arguing cases and whatever, because it's oftentimes used as a delaying tactic, to be honest with you. But we're very comfortable with our position.
Yeah. Again, as someone who wants to see this go through, I just hate to see that become noise on the floor that day because then people get nervous about voting.
Right. It's really our risk too. So, but I understand it. I mean, it's if I was on the other side, I wanted to stop something. It's perhaps a strategy I would employ.
Marcy, I couldn't
All right.
quite, I couldn't
Go ahead, Tim.
hear, I couldn't hear what the risk was, what the concern was.
I think, go ahead. Go ahead,
The
Mr.
argument was that it targeted just this site. It was spot zoning. And that was the one. Simple as that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. We appreciate everybody attending tonight for all your input, all your help. We look forward to the meeting on the 7th, I think it is, at 7. So thanks, everybody. We will continue on as advisory and select board. We can decide as well to whether or not we want to take a vote tonight on this as it is with minor edits pending as a group. But I just want to say thanks to everyone for calling in.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, advisory. Congratulations on your chairmanship, Marcy.
Thanks,
Great
Mimi.
job hosting your first meeting.
We can we'll do our best, but appreciate everyone's patience for sure. When somebody was calling on Madam Chair, I'm like, who are they talking to? Anyway,
that's me.
Still getting used to this. Exactly. Okay. If only I can be as good as Andrew by the end of my tour of duty here. I'll be lucky. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone stay healthy.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. All right. Members of advisory. So one thing to bring up is that, which I'll bring up later as, other business is we likely will need to call another meeting for planning board to present the ADU. There was a presentation last night, which I think would be very helpful. So just tossing that out as a possibility, but I would be willing to entertain motions to vote on this tonight, Article 1, as we move through the warrant, if everybody feels comfortable. It seems to me that we have unanimous support, most likely.
Is there a way to word it with? You're good at this, to word it with that, because we don't have the final.
Yeah, I think we could word it, basically saying, as long as it substantively doesn't change, and with the, give the authority to Marcy to kind of make that call, and at town meeting, we could always change our vote again, but did not have to call another meeting for a 10-second vote.
Yeah.
And then also when it does come out, I think we could all say, hey, something did change. Let's get together and look at this again. But to save us a meeting, I don't think that would be.
Well, when it does come out, we could then revisit it just briefly at the next meeting, but at least we have it out there and we can start working on our letter and get, some momentum going there. So does someone want to make a motion?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say, I move that we advisory votes to support Article 1 with, minor non-substantive edits as overseen by our chair.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Andrew?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Marcy is aye. So unanimous vote in support, pending any substantive changes. So we'll track that very closely and get to work on some of our next steps. I appreciate everybody's input and help.
Kathy, do you want to call or Marguerite to
I don't know if some folks are going to stay for the future more discussions or not, but yeah, that's up to you guys in select board.
I'm planning on staying. Marguerite, Tim, are you guys staying?
I'll stay.
Okay, there's two. Tim?
Yeah, plan to stay.
Okay,
never mind.
so
All right. Thank you for asking, though, because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to hold people up if you want to depart. So next up on our agenda tonight is number 3, which is discuss special town meeting warrant articles with potential votes. So we already reviewed Article 1. So Article 2, Andrew, I don't know if you could pull up the warrant for
I'll
us.
put up the warrant
maybe.
for us.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if you can see it.
The warrant draft. All right. Article 2 is, hold on here, I got my notes.
It's the
So
golf revolving account, I think, right?
Yep, so amend article for revolving funds, section 16.9, authorizing revolving funds. Basically, the summary is to allow unencumbered funds from revolving at greater than 75,000 annually to be used for miscellaneous general fund expenses, operational expenses, I should say. FY24 was 112K from the golf club ops, which is currently limited only for golf club operations and improvements. And if you see this table here for section F or column F, that is the change in italics, if I'm correct. And select board, please feel free to chime in since I know you're sponsoring this article, proposing it. Basically, it will allow for the use of, unencumbered balance of user fees to be used for other things besides golf course, if I'm not mistaken. So any select board members have any comments that you want to share about this? Kathy?
So this is an attempt to do what advisory, probably even more select board has been trying to do for the last few years, which is try to find non-real estate tax revenue to take the burden off real estate tax levy, commercial and real estate, or residential. So the golf course, we paid $5 million for it. So that's our investment at this point, roughly. We do use a piece of it for the public safety building, the rest of it for the golf course. It's been doing very well. Every year the revenue has gone up. We have a contract where we get a percentage of the fees that are collected. We've got a contract coming up in a couple of years that we'll renegotiate. But we're to the point now, it looks like we should be able to pay for all of the golf course related expenses, including the capital expenses, and have some money left over. So this would enable us, if that happens, to actually pull some money out of this to be able to be used against any expense, any general fund expense. Again, trying to get that non-real estate tax revenue up. So that's the purpose of this. We basically say you're going to look at every December 31st, and to the extent there's at least 75K in the bank for this revolving fund, anything in excess of that, we're going to pull over to the general fund.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Let me see if there's any other hands up, and we'll take advisory's questions. If not, this time we'll go in reverse. Eric, you have any questions?
Yeah, I don't know how much it costs to run a golf course, but is there a reason why you wouldn't try to get more? And why is it, I mean, what's the 75,000 represent? Why not make it 25 and try to actually get more money to use elsewhere?
Kathy.
Eric, we think 75 is prudent because that would then be the money that we would need for the next year, next operating year of the golf course. So 25 sounds low because you don't know for sure what's going to happen. Things go wrong. Fixes need to be made. We still got some problems with the golf course, golf balls going where they shouldn't, et cetera. So we don't want to reduce it so much. We don't have enough money to pay for golf course related expenses. So we think 75 is prudent at this point to keep in the bank to use for the next golf season.
And is that like a recurring balance where if you didn't use it, you could just use it the next, or you might be able to increase it? In other words, would you want some flexibility based on some minimum cash balance in the bank where if you didn't use it, you could actually get more the following year or the year after?
Well, what we're saying is, I'm not sure I'm not sure I quite understood what you said, but every December 31st, you take a look at so this is a revolving fund, right? So it's kind of a separate account. Money goes in from the golf course and money goes out to pay for golf course related expenses. Now that's how it works now. So we're saying, take a look at that revolving fund at December 31st. If it's got more than 75K in it, you get to pull it out now to be used permanently for any general fund expenses. So it's never going to get much above 75K because every December 31st, we're going to pull it out and take it back down to 75K. Now, if there's not 75K, obviously you're not going to take anything out of it.
I think my question is more just keeping it as a dynamic language where, let's say you only spend 50 of the 75. The following year, you have a balance that goes 25,000 into the following year. You raise another 100,000, but you keep 75. All I'm asking is are the expenses, or maybe said differently, the expenses are pretty consistent year to year, so you know that 75 will basically get used up, and you're not going to carry a balance forward that could just accumulate over the next however many years.
It's every, let's use an example. Let's say we didn't spend any of the 75K, right? And then at the end of the next year, you had 150. You take 75 out. So you keep taking it out. So you're never going to have more than 75K. But it's not just operating expenses. There's always capital stuff too you got to worry about. We're putting a new irrigation system in now. They still have not solved the problem with the golf balls flying over Ladasquama into windows, etc. So you got to have some money there to do those. Because we don't want the general fund to pay for the golf course.
I'm with you. I'm not trying to argue the point. I'm just trying to understand the nature of the funding and the operations. That all makes sense, and you've put a lot more thought into it and probably forgotten more about it than I'll know. So that's pretty clear. Thank you.
So I think at the flip side of that, Eric, and Kathy, please confirm for me that if we know there's an expense coming up, we're not required to pull the funding out.
That's correct. We're actually going to subtract that, Howard, from this first. So it's the unknown that you leave the 75K for. So you're right. So anything that you got to do that you've committed, you subtract from that balance too.
Well, Eric, the flip side is when we put this golf course in, it was supposed to be self-funding, period. And then we were at town meeting recently where we funded something else for the golf course. So I want to make sure that and the language is there, and it is, Kathy, I'm all for this. I think using the funds other places is great, but we have to look at it at that year by year. If we know an expense is coming up, the irrigation system, et cetera, that's going to take 150,000, it's sitting there that we're not taking the money out, spending it somewhere else, and then coming back to town meeting, asking for more money for the golf course.
I make that.
Well, that's definitely not the intent. Again, we're trying to find money to lower real estate taxes.
No, I understand what you're trying to do, and I'm all for it. I just ask, as you look at that annually, and I know you guys will do this, there's a budget for the golf course. If we know something's coming up, just don't take the money out, right? So.
All right. Howard, is that all your questions or comments?
Oh my God.
Okay. Larry? Let's see you here, Larry.
Yeah, I am here and I have no questions.
Okay. It's just my screen. It's not you. Let's see. Tim?
No questions from me. Thank you.
All right. Barry?
No questions.
And Andrew?
My only question is, Kathy, should we amend section D to include and transfer to the general fund for any purpose?
Okay, tell me exactly what you're suggesting.
So it says basically program activity expenses payable from the fund. If we move money out, right, that would be, you would have a payable from the fund, but it would be, basically the use would be, or if it excess of 75,000, transfer to the general fund for any general fund purpose.
We could, obviously I didn't write this, so I haven't focused on the actual details. We could.
And if Jay says it's not needed, we're okay with the language in the other because it kind of supersedes the D, but I would think that the D might have, basically, I don't want it to have to go to the general fund and then we can only use it for golf course stuff from the general fund.
So if you want to send Mr. Purple that exact proposed change, he's the one that is marking up the warrant.
Okay. Yeah, that was my worry, is that we'd move money over and then it was like, okay, but we still can only spend it on golf course stuff.
No, and that's not the intent, obviously. So yeah, fix it.
Okay.
All right. I don't have any questions on this one. Do we want to vote on Article 2? Andrew, if you're going to suggest edits or move return to this maybe next meeting? Or-
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's the end of the world
Okay,
if we
that's fine.
at town meeting for this one.
Do you
I
have,
think Article 1. Go ahead, Tim.
Andrew,
Sorry.
if you have the edits, you can just add them to your motion.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that, and then if they make the change, then okay.
Again, all our votes are subject to change if we saw something later. We'll be monitoring closely. So we have a
Why
motion
don't
on
I
Article 2.
make the motion so I make sure I put what I mentioned in D is move that advisory supports Article 2 with an edit in Section D, the program or activity expenses payable from fund to include the amount of money that would be transferred to the general fund to be able to be used for any purpose within the general fund.
All right. We have a second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Barry,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Marcy. Aye.
Then,
Did I get everyone?
Nope.
Howard, sorry. It's hard when I can't see everyone. Howard. Was that an aye, Howard?
Howard, aye. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, Article 3. Let's see here. All right, so on Article 3, I think the best summary here is the second mini paragraph below the big one. Folks want to read that, but the said proposed special act shall make the following modification to Chapter 447 of the Acts of 1991. A, reestablish a board of cemetery commissioners appointed by the select board. And the summary is nicely done here, explaining that establishing a separate board of cemetery commissioners would allow cemetery matters, which are often deeply personal, to be handled with greater sensitivity and focus rather than having this addressed broadly in forums like select board meetings. This change would maintain transparency under open meeting law while ensuring greater discretion, responsiveness, and stewardship of cemetery resources. Preparing for the meeting, I did look into this. There are many, many towns that have a board of cemetery commissioners. The town of Upton, for example, has a very nice description on their homepage. So as a resident of Southborough, I do notice quite often walking through town, there's a lot of work that seems to be needed and attention to be paid to our cemeteries, which could be quite a bit of work in a broader sense. So I don't know if Select Board wants to comment on this as a sponsor, but it sounds like a reasonable ask to me. Select Board.
So can I go, Marcy?
Oh, yeah, sorry. If I can't see you, there you go. Okay, Kathy, go ahead, please.
So this is being done at the request of our DPW superintendent, Mr. Cundiff. He believes that we should do this. He strongly believes it too. So we've had a couple of meetings to talk about it. Marguerite will know who I'm talking about. So we had someone come to one of the meetings who actually used to be on we used to have a cemetery commission and he used to be on it. It's a gentleman from Perini Construction and I can't remember his name.
Bob Bazokas.
That's what it is. So he's all for it. He had good reasons for it. But remember too, one of the things, besides this personal aspect that Bill would like to keep confidential, not to bring. So right now he has to bring select board every little thing that somebody wants to change. Somebody wants to change the size of a headstone or move this or that. It's got to come from the select board. So the select board would like to also not do some of these things. We've got a lot of things that we think should be done elsewhere and not by the select board. So that would help that. But most importantly, we're running out of room for our cemetery. So this commission, part of its job would be to determine where we can acquire some additional land for more cemetery space. So they've got some pretty important things. We all know that the cemeteries need to be maintained. There's always things going to be done, so they would be part of that too. So overall, we thought it was a good thing to do. So that's where that was the background as far as why this one's coming forward.
All right, thank you. Any other select board comments? If not, questions from advisory? Andrew, you want to start with this one?
Sure. I think it's great. The only thing I'm not sure is there an appeals process? Like if somebody didn't like the decision, not that there would be, but if somebody didn't like the decision of the cemetery commissioners, do they have the ability to appeal to the select board?
Andrew, I think the answer is yes, but I'm saying that's what I think. So we should probably confirm that if that's important to you to know that up front. I mean, the actual language is going to be worked out. So I think that got asked, and I think the answer is yes. It would go to the select board if there were an issue with what the cemetery commission had decided someone didn't like it. So I mean, there should be an appeal process for everything. So I think the answer is yes. I just can't guarantee it.
That's all I
Any
have.
other questions? Okay. Howard?
So the article, it's funny, we had this, we got rid of it, we're back to it. I don't have a problem with having a commission. What is the makeup of this commission? How many people is it? Are they all DPW? Are they people around town? Is it a paid position? What is their authority? There's not enough meat in this article to really answer the questions we should vote on.
I think it's going to be like a lot of boards and committees in Southborough. You simply put your name in because you want to be on it, and then the select board appoints you or not.
So Howard, you're right. There's some trust here. It's a lot of this is to TBD by the select board. If you look at that last paragraph where cursor is a form and wording of said submission shall be determined by the select board. So details haven't been worked out. So this is just trying to get an overall, yes, we agree this is a good idea, and then the details will be worked out if this passes.
So does anyone remember how it worked in the past? I'm assuming we're going to use a similar, I guess for me, what's the authority of them? Do they have any monetary authority? You said they're looking for land. I'm assuming they have to come to you to purchase that land as the select board.
That's a fact.
I think they're primarily advisory for Bill Cundiff.
Okay, I just didn't know there's a budget. The cemetery used to have a budget.
Yeah, it did, and the land thing that the cemetery will need more land. And I think as I understand it from talking to Bill and also from Bob Zokas, who was on the original one, which I think bought the rural cemetery or part of it, was that they were more advisory for the now would be more advisory for the DPW head because they're not that much of an independent board.
Well, they're good at decisions though. Things that have come in front of us, they'll come in front of them. So they are going to make decisions.
Yeah, and it does need to be clarified whether they would have a budget or what I think Bill needs to be asked about this, how he perceives this as functioning to help him out.
I remember previously they had a budget to maintain the grounds, etc., which is all rolled back
Yes.
into DPW. Does that roll back? Those are questions I'd like answered before we.
I think Bill thinks that J&J will stay with the DPW, but those are good questions, Howard, and they need answers. Thank you.
There's no intention to move that back into the cemetery commission. The DPW will continue to maintain the cemeteries, and that budget item will be in their budget.
Okay. And as we go to town meeting, there are people who remember the cemetery commission much better than I do.
Well, Howard, 1991 is a long time ago, so I'm not sure anybody here remembers it. So if advisory needs to get more details fleshed out here before you vote, that's fine, but I think it's got to be with Bill Cundiff involved.
Okay.
I'd like to follow up to Howard's comment. Thanks, Marcy. If this is an advisory board, we're jumping through a lot of hoops for something that could just be an ad hoc board the select board creates. Like what exactly what authority do they need that we have to submit a special act under the home rule petition?
Well, because when the DPW was created, they abolished the cemetery commission, and that was under a special act, so it has to go back.
Sure. I guess my point is, if it's advisory in nature, the select board can create an ad hoc committee, and they can advise the DPW.
I think they're going to do stuff, Tim. I think they're going to maybe allow people to sell plots or things like that.
Right, Andrew. This is my point. Like, if there is
not advisory, because they're going to be voting on. Okay, you're exempted from the rules. You can have a bigger headstone, right? It's going to be
right. I think that needs to be laid out, right? And if we have X, Y, and Z, and these are legitimate functions, then sure, let's go ahead and do this. Otherwise, why?
Well, we were all thinking of the Public Works Planning Board, right?
This is not the Public Works Planning Board. This is not advisory. This is not advisory, Tim. But given the questions you're asking, it probably does need to be fleshed out a little bit more.
Well, this is fun. We could have Bill Cundiff come the same night that we ask planning to come about ADU if you want to. If that would be helpful.
I think it also needs better language for what it will be charged with.
I think it's like, this is where you would come to get an exception on the size of the headstone, or to sell back a plot, or, you know, whatever, any other exception to the existing cemetery things. Also, this committee will work to expand the cemetery. I mean, you know, whatever policies or whatever.
Yeah, and Bill had said that there were some things that were very sensitive within families about plots that had to be discussed in front of the select board, and it wasn't comfortable at all. So, but I think also the issue of, if they are going to be looking for more land, what's their authority and who should they be comprised of? So I guess that's all those are Bill questions, what he would like to make his life easier.
Okay. I mean, all this makes sense. I mean, for this kind of an effort, I would kind of expect no less that the select board is delegating a small portion of their power to this board. That's what I would expect here.
And that's the intent, Tim, is to delegate certain things to this commission that are either ministerial or sensitive, or pick your adjective, that we feel would be better dealt with this separate commission. But they really will have authority to make decisions.
Barry, you have your hand up?
Yeah, and I certainly agree. This shouldn't be select board work, and it is common in a lot of other communities to have a separate cemetery commission or committee. But in some towns, it's actually an elected position. And I wonder if that was at all considered. It does eliminate the whole appeals issue, for example.
I don't remember spending a lot of time, Barry, talking about elected versus appointed. We really focused on assuming they were going to be appointed.
I think we need Bill at this point.
That is a very good question. When I looked at other towns, I agree, Barry. Several were appointed, it seemed to me. I'm sorry, not appointed, elected. I apologize. So maybe for select board to consider.
I think we have enough trouble getting actual race elections that I don't know.
But in case it comes up, it is something that's out there.
We also have a Tim Litt in the audience, had his hand raised. If you want to talk.
Yeah, sure. Tim, come on over. We'll bring him over, Tim. Andrew.
You're good, Tim.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a bizarre setup here, so I wasn't quite sure. I looked into this a little bit when this first came up at the select board, and there's a fair amount of confusion here. A board of cemetery commissioners under state law, and off the top of my head, it's like chapter 61 or so, is by default an elected board. It has an awful lot of power. It can acquire land, and I forget what else, but it's not a simple advisory thing. There's an option under state law to make it appointed, but it's not something that you can just define sort of the way you want it. When I looked at this the last time, my reaction was that Bill's goals could be better served by his simply appointing a committee that was advisory to him. And then the select board delegates what it wants. Because the Board of Cemetery Commissioners under state law can acquire land. It has a budget. It's a whole messy collection of things that you get when you go there. So I think.
But not always, Tim, though, right? I mean, some of them are not like that.
Well, this is what the state law provides for. You may have something else that you want to have deal with the cemetery, but what's going on here is you're amending the special act, which had an elected cemetery commission. So you're basically going back to that, but taking the state option that says it can be an appointed board. But assuming it's still a cemetery commission, it has all the powers under state law, which is different from what people have been talking about this evening.
What was the one prior to 1990 that we had? Was it before they made the DPW? Was it elected or
It
appointed?
was elected.
We
And
clearly
it, wa-
don't have very
and
good
it was
tonight
and
on-
it was organized under Mass General Laws, Chapter 60 something. I think it was 61. I'm not in front of it right now.
Either way, this article is not ready for prime time yet.
All right. Kathy, Barry, you have another comment before we potentially move on? You have your hand up? I don't know. Left over? Okay. Let's see. Eric and Larry. Make sure I called on everyone. Anyone else with hands up? Larry, did you have any comments on this one?
No, nothing other than the issues that have been raised, reading this and not personally knowing very much about cemetery commissions. I really, other than the sort of casual description of what they do, I don't know what the makeup is. I don't know whether it's entirely appointed by the select board or there are other appointment authorities. I don't know exactly what their capabilities are as a commission. I mean, I don't have a problem in the general case with something like this. It's just that I don't know what I'm voting for here.
All right. So select board, you heard the feedback. I think we'll hold on our vote for this one for now.
We did.
All right. Let us know if we can help. All right, Article 4. All
So
right.
let me fill this one out on Tuesday. Okay, so this
Please
one's
do.
two parts. So it's $100,000 that would be appropriated from the free cash that will be certified for 6/30/25. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. So that record, so someone wanted to know what the free cash was. So free cash is going to be well over $3 million. It's a record free cash for a couple reasons. There are a lot of turnbacks. So the 100,000 is two parts: 85,000 to design the cleanup of the Atwood water tank site, and $15,000 to provide temporary safety measures that are recommended by our water consultant, Par. So, this is an example of no good deed goes unpunished. So as some of you may know, Al Hamilton primarily ran for select board because of his passion for affordable housing. He was just irritated that we weren't getting anything done, so he really wanted to get something done. So he found this parcel that the town owns on Atwood that used to have a water tank, and thought it was a good idea to look at as far as maybe trying to build some affordable housing. Well, lo and behold, yeah, there was a water tank there. And when it got taken down, it didn't get taken down in a very safe method. And therefore, there is lead in the ground around the tank. So instead of getting affordable housing, we're going to have to spend a lot of money to clean it up. So this 100 is to get the design money to start the cleanup as far as what it's going to look like. And then 15 to put some temporary safety measures that the neighborhood certainly is advocating for, and our water consultant also is recommending.
Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy, if I remember correctly, we don't have a choice. We have to do
After
this.
to me,
You are correct, Howard.
it would seem to me, yes. So questions or concerns, starting with Andrew Pfaff?
I think my only question here is that what my understanding is there's different levels of and different methodologies you can use to clean it up depending on if it's going to be open space or it's going to be developed. Are they designing optionality in their recommendation, or are they just going for one, right? I don't want to pay $85,000 for either, the base repair of it's just going to be conservation and they can seal it or whatever, or, $85,000 to do full cleanup that's going to cost millions of dollars because we want to reuse the site, right? I think it's either we figure out what we want to do with the site and then we determine how much it's going to cost to clean it up, or the cost for this should be different options and the cost for each option.
And it's also important to factor in what the abutters want too.
It's my understanding, Andrew, that they are going to basically show the different options. You know, you could cap it, you could get the dirt out, you could, go pretty far, you could go not so far, and show what the options are, and then show a cost of each one, so that at the end we basically pick the one that we believe is the one we want to do.
Okay, I think that sounds good.
Kathy, are they going to give us, like, here in terms of the options, like, here's the option that's going to protect your abutters, right? But the site will be useless, right? Or like, is it going to be presented to us in those terms?
Tim, I think there's really two choices here. One is to literally dig the dirt out. It's the contaminant area is really right around where that tank was. They've tested all the way out to the property line, and there's very little lead when you go out further. So I think that the two choices are you just dig it out and replace it, or you cap it like you do landfills. I don't know that there's any other choice as far as how to remediate this.
Do we have any concerns around lead reaching the water table for the abutters?
They have not expressed that. They have tested all the way to the property line of the abutters, and it looks like it's just a minimal amount. It's like almost normal as far as when you get out there. There's a report that I'm happy to get to you from the water consultant that we've used for years that goes into much greater detail if you want to read it.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be clear though, this is the just for the engineering services. We're going to have a town meeting after this with options with cost to actually do the work.
Yes, this is just a small part of what the actual cleanup's probably going to cost.
Not for the dump at Breakneck, right? This is a.
Let's hope it's not. Let's hope it's not that. As far as cost goes, but we will see.
All right.
And one question, Kathy, that I'm sure might come up at town meeting, or you should be prepared for, is for Breakneck, we had the DEP whatever ruling that we had to do it, or they would basically do it, charge us, right? Is this that same level of must do? Not that we don't want to do it, but having that, okay, once we know it, we're required by XXX law to remediate it in some fashion over some period of time, or not. But I think that might be a good fact to have.
Okay, I don't know, Andrew, if this rises to the administrative order level that it did with Breakneck Hill or not. I just know that we've been told that yes, the DEP is aware of it and it has to be cleaned up.
All right, moving on to others with questions or comments. Eric?
I've got nothing else to add on this one. Thank you.
All right, Larry?
I also have nothing else to add on this one.
Great, Barry?
No questions.
All right, Howard?
I think I've done enough. Thank you.
Okay, Tim, any final thoughts?
No, thank you.
No. All right, I have no thoughts on this either. Do we want to vote on this tonight, or are we
I'm ready.
confident?
There
All
are-
right.
There are
Yeah,
two questions. There are two questions in the attendees room.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for
Looks like Carl and
thinking them out. All right, we're happy to take comments or questions at this time. If you want to bring them over.
I'll bring over Carl first.
Thank you, Andrew.
Carl, you should be unmuted. Get your name and address for the record, please. If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Are we sure he's over, Andrew? I don't see him.
Yeah, he's at the bottom. He's unmuted.
Okay.
All right, Carl, I'm gonna put you back over the other side and for now, and if you I'll bring Kristen over.
Thank you. Kristen Laval, 12 Southwood Drive. Could someone just confirm my volume's still okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Thank you. I just wanted to underscore what Andrew brought up. I think a very important point, and one that, you know, is obviously going to be more sensitive to some in town than others, is the intended use of that property. You know, Atwood Street has a, you know, you provided some of the history, Kathy. It goes, you know, there's more of that history to that story. It's a sensitive topic for a lot of people on the south side of town. So once, I don't think getting the design fee is question, you know, that makes sense, right? So we can find out what the possible options are and what that allows for future land use. I think it's going to be absolutely critical when the time comes to decide how to move forward that there is an understanding of the intentions, because that's going to influence what people are willing to pay. You know, I can speak for some neighbors in the area, and I do live on the south side, is that, you know, I don't want to necessarily pay if I'm paying for the full, you know, ride because you want to further develop an already densely populated neighborhood. So it becomes multi-layered in making that decision. And I just wanted, again, to get out of the discussion and underscore what Andrew said. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. I was having a bit of trouble hearing you at one point, but I think you had just comments, but no question.
I think I got the gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll try Carl one more time. Carl, you should be able to unmute. Still can't hear you.
No.
Okay.
All right, Carl, we'll come back to you at the end of public comment as well. Sorry, we can't hear you.
I think I'm okay to vote on this one, Marcy. I don't think there's much that's going to change. I don't think.
All right. Do we have a motion on Article 4 as written in the draft warrant?
I move that the advisory committee support Article 4 as written in the warrant.
All right.
Second.
A second. All right. Roll call vote. Andrew Pfaff.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And Barry.
Aye.
And Marcy is aye. All right, moving on, Article 5. Kathy, this is probably another one you want to speak to, but basically this article would consolidate classification schedules of salary and pay for Business Admin 1 and Business Admin 2 into Business Admin under grade 5 plus free cash of $8,577 to fund the consolidation. You can see the table here as well. It made the appropriate changes. And the summary written, it would delete redundancy from non-union personnel pay plan and combine into one position classification the functions of business administrators in many of the town departments. Does select board have any comments, Kathy, Marguerite?
So this one's coming from Personnel Board. There's a couple. So Personnel Board is going to end up sponsoring this article, and then the other one, as far as vacation, Select Board will sponsor the money article as far as the retroactive pay increases. So this is just trying to simplify this. It's confusing when you've got BA1, BA2. So the part of the Personnel Board, Barry can probably really speak to this one better than I can, to try to, again, simplify things. So we've all got one classification and not two. Because of it, you know, those that are one are going to get a little bit of a pay increase. So that's where the $8,500 comes from. So we end up with one classification and not two, based on what the Personnel Board thinks we should do to try to make the SAP simpler and easier to understand and fairer.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else have any?
Barry's got his hand raised.
Okay, Barry.
So there's just a brief history of this. So in around 2017, before I was on the Personnel Board, they did a compensation study, and the consultant at that time recommended that we create these two positions, Business Admin 1 and Business Admin 2, apparently because she felt there was a significant enough difference in the responsibilities between business administrators. When we did the survey again, the compensation study again in 2022, 23, a different consultant did not suggest we change it, but there was a lot of contention, I would say, within the personnel board and among employees in these respective positions, as Kathy says, particularly people who are business admins ones, wondering why they were not twos. So there was quite a bit of furor about that, and I believe that continues. My only question, and I've had a conversation with one member of the personnel board and reached out to Jason, but wasn't able to contact him, is they're going to be doing another compensation survey in FY27. Why they wouldn't wait until then to see what that consultant says. I hate to be in a situation where we do this and then the new consultant comes in and says, well, wait a minute, you were better off how you were. Having said that, the personnel board currently has put a lot more thought and energy into it than I have, so I don't oppose it. That would be my only question about it.
I think it has to do with retention.
Is this
Yeah,
one
I
that
would
we
know
would
that
want to
there's
have?
nine.
Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead, Barry.
No, I that's why I say I would defer to the personnel board because they're certainly closer to it than I have been in the last years.
Okay. We'll circle through all the comments and then figure out our next steps on this one. Larry, you have any? Sorry, Larry.
Oh, no other questions. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Okay, Tim? Nope. Howard?
No, thank you. I'm feeling good.
All right. Andrew?
Nothing besides, I think if not planning board, personnel board thinks this is a good idea, they're looking at closer than I do. It's $8,000 in the grand scheme of things. I don't.
Okay. Eric? Did I?
Couldn't have done it better myself. Nothing else.
All right. So it sounds like, after all the comments, that we would be in a position to vote on this article tonight, unless I'm reading the room wrong. Do I have a motion on Article 5?
I move that the advisory board, what's the right word? I forgot.
Move to support.
Support.
Thank you.
Support.
I couldn't think of that word. That the advisory board support Article 5 as written.
Second.
We have a second? Was that you, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, roll call vote. Tim?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Marcy is aye. All right, Article 6, moving along, is SAP article that would basically reset monthly accrual schedules for non-union employees around vacation time. So vacation accruals right now, if you look at the table, 0 to 2 years is 2 weeks. And then you go up from there 3 to 4 weeks to 5 weeks. And this would move it to 0 to 7 years would start at 3 weeks. So basically a new employee would start at 3 weeks instead of 2. And that this would aid in recruiting and probably retention as well, offering 3 weeks annually to stay competitive. So
So Marcy,
others have more to add.
but again, Barry, I think, can add a whole lot of better color, given his background with personnel board. So straight out of Vanessa Hell's mouth, you cannot recruit anyone with less than 3 weeks of vacation. You just can't. So every time what happens is we get someone, they're going to get 3 weeks. She's got to go to the personnel board and get the exception for that person if they fall in the category that they would have gotten less than 3 weeks. So they recommend this because as a matter of practicality, you're not going to hire someone with less than 3 weeks of vacation offered to them if you want to be successful. Most of the people we hire are experienced. These are not people straight out of college by any means. So that is my simple explanation as to why this has been brought forth and recommended by the personnel board. But I am very interested in what Mr. Rubenstein has to say.
All right, with that, Barry?
Yeah, no, it's pretty straightforward. It's something that the personnel board had been looking at for several years now. So I think it's the right thing to do in the current environment. As Kathy says, we can't hire someone with 2 weeks vacation. And I can't remember the number of times we voted exceptions so we could hire people. So I fully support it.
Moving on to other comments then. Eric, any thoughts?
Makes sense to me.
Okay. Tim?
I'm fine.
All right. Larry?
I'm fine.
All right. Who am I missing? Howard?
See where I am in people's minds. I guess I'm out of the group, and I don't like this one. I hear what people are saying about retention, but fresh out of school, et cetera, and maybe we don't hire that 2 weeks and working up. There's nothing to look forward to of 2 to 7 years. Next thing we're going to have is you're going to want to split up the next thing and say you get 3 weeks at 5 years or something. It's going to fold and start adding more vacation time and more positions and backfilling them and whatever. I'm not a fan of this. So.
All right. Who is left? Andrew?
Do we know if there's a cost implication to this? I mean, I would think we need to backfill or do something, but.
I don't know the answer to that, Andrew. If there were, I think what's happened is we've had to make the exception every single time. So I don't think there is a cost. There's no one that's going to go from 2 weeks to 3 weeks that we've got to accrue a cost with. So I think the answer is no, or we would put it there. But
I would think, I mean, not that it changes the article, but I would maybe get that from Mark or Vanessa that currently there is nobody in the 2 week bucket. Everybody is 3. They all have gotten the exception. There's no impact financially, and we just keep approving it. Like if we set the precedent that all new hires are getting 3, and this is every time we're approving it, right? And nobody's going into that bucket, then and we basically now I don't know why we bothered to approve this at town meeting if we can accept it change it every time, but that's a different story.
Vanessa's just saying, she's just tired of having to go literally through the step. The personnel board has to meet, so you've got to get them to meet to do this. So she's saying if you're going to do it anyway, if you know it's almost an automatic thing, then why not just make it automatic so you don't have to have a personnel board meeting?
Yeah, it's really a timing issue in terms of the hiring process. And I think in the 6 years I was on the personnel board, I don't believe a single person would have gotten 2 weeks.
All right. I had a question too. Well, Andrew, are you finished with the
Yep,
questions?
all
Do you have any comments? Okay. Only question I had, which we might not have the answer for, is aligning sort of with what Andrew says, is how much overtime do we use to cover vacations? Because we might expect that to go up if we, give everyone another week earlier on. So that was the only question I had, but I don't know that anyone in this group could answer it tonight.
Know that we do that very often. Barry, again, help me. As far as the non-fire and police, they're a whole different world, right, as far as overtime goes. But I'm not aware that we pay overtime very often, if ever, for someone to cover someone's vacation.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. All right. do we have a motion to approve Article 6, or do we have questions we want to hold and wait?
I don't think much is going to change.
Okay,
Me.
all right. And motion to approve Article 6?
I move that
I
we
move
support
to
Article
approve.
6.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I move that
Andrew,
we.
go ahead.
I move that advisory supports Article 6 as written.
Second,
Thank you. So roll call vote, starting with Eric,
Aye.
Howard,
Yay.
Andrew,
Aye.
Barry,
aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Marcy is aye. Right, moving on, Article 7. All right. Article 7 summaries employee market adjustment, tenured employee market adjustment. So 7 years plus of service would be placed at the midpoint of step 8. And this would also be retro to July 1st of 2025 with a cost of free cash of $66,802. I know this was discussed a lot at select board, so Kathy, would you want to speak to this from
Isn't it
select
nice
board?
though
So,
that Barry is on this committee that can help with
Sure.
this part? So again, I just want to start off and let Barry chime in here. So this one is, again, recommended by the Personnel Board to try to rectify a perceived adjustment that needs to be made to some of our longer tenured employees. The select board debated whether to make this prospective January 1st after a special town meeting if it passed, or July 1st retroactive if it passed. Still got to pass, but we really spent some time debating the start date. We first agreed on January 1st, and then I asked the board to reconsider. I was surprised select board actually approved this or supported this. And so therefore I didn't want to push it too much, but then the more I thought about it, I really felt strongly that it should be July 1st. You know, if you're trying to rectify an inequity, why not try to do it as right as you can, which would be all the way back to July 1st. So Barry helped me here. So these longer tenured employees kind of got stuck at a place on the SAP that they shouldn't be at. Their tenure warrants, so they really should be much higher up. You know, remember everybody's got a grade and they've got a step. So we didn't have the step system for a few years, so therefore they got stuck. And so so what's happened is we keep hiring new people that are coming in at much higher grades and steps, and there is really a distaste for that among these longer tenured employees. So the personnel board they basically gave us two choices: either do it July 1st or do it January 1st. They do recommend doing this though. It'd be half the cost of this if you did January 1st, and then 66 if you do it July 1st. So that's kind of the background as to what this is trying to do, is trying to truly right a perceived wrong here. And this is a step toward doing that. But I again wish Barry would chime in here first before everybody else does, so he can make sure that I've explained this correctly and add his wisdom to this.
Well, I
Barry,
don't
you
know
want
wisdom, but I'll add something. So the personnel board, as you all know, every year votes an annual increase percentage. And we did that, I did that, based on information about what other towns around us were doing, the CPI, things like that. We thought we were keeping pace with the market, but clearly over time we weren't, because we had to hire new people. We never hired new people at the bottom of a job grade. We always had to hire them somewhere in the middle of the job grade to be competitive. And so it caused a crunch from the people who had been here and were getting the increases we were giving them from the new people coming in. So the gaps were not as large as they should have been. And so people who had been here a while understandably felt aggrieved when they see new people coming in getting much closer to what they were making than their years of service should have been. So this is an effort, albeit a sledgehammer effort, if you will, to try to rectify that. I will say in honesty, if we had a well-functioning HR department that could look at this on an individual by individual basis, we do a better job of fixing it, but we don't have the capability to do that. And so I think this is an honest effort to reward the people who have been here and make them feel that their years of service are appreciated by the town and they're being paid fairly.
Right, Barry, thank you. I will mention that I talked to a member of Personnel Board at one of the select board meetings, and it was apparent to me that when we have turnover of longer tenured folks, that we're often then paying higher steps than the person who left. So by doing this, we hope to hold on to those folks with longer tenure and reward them and keep them versus the turnover of positions where we then end up paying more in salary anyway. So that was just a comment I wanted to point out of one of the
Marcy,
Personnel Board members who spoke to me.
Marcy, if
ahead.
I could just jump in quickly to add one more thing, that this is 11 people and
Okay.
4 of them are department heads.
Okay. Thank you, Marguerite. All right, moving on to other advisory members. Barry, did you have anything else, any questions at all before I move on from you?
No, I've spoken to a couple of members of the Personnel Board about this, so I'm satisfied.
All right, Howard.
No, no comments. This one makes sense to me. Thank you.
All right, Larry.
Yeah, I have no comments on this one either.
Okay, great. Eric.
So just to make sure I'm clear, so this is the 66,000 is what would be needed to basically incrementally increase the pay, or is this for a study?
No, this is her pay, Eric.
Oh, okay.
July 1st. So they're going to get a, one-time,
Got it.
if this gets approved, they'll get a one-time payment in their next paycheck that will basically bump them to where they should be as of July 1st of 25.
And then on a go-forward basis, on an annual basis, I assume the salaries will continue. What's the effective cost if you annualize?
Well, this is half a year.
So there you go, to double it. Okay. And I'm just curious, as a percentage of increase on average, is it like 3, 4, 5? Kind of where does it fall?
I don't know the answer because the amount varies per employee based on their tenure. So it actually varies quite a bit among the 11. So I don't know how to answer your question. And I'm not sure there is a percent you can apply across.
I'm just curious. And that just, is there flight risk if we don't do this? Just
it's hard to talk about personnel stuff in a meeting like this. So I'm just going to answer with one word, which is yes.
There you go. I mean, you could assume there probably is. No, I agree. I think this makes sense.
Okay, so Kathy, now I'm going to ask the follow-up question, is that will this fix your problem?
Not completely.
Step in the right
Let's
direction.
give you the background. Remember at the last special town meeting, we had an article, Barry, remember this, and I think you guys supported it. I don't think it was unanimous. So we had an article to accelerate the next compensation study for this reason, but it failed. So we're trying to take what steps we can now to do this, Tim. So I answer your question honestly. No, it doesn't solve the problem completely.
Okay, but you're saying it's a step.
It's a step.
All right, thanks, Kathy.
And we are getting a lot of credit for this. Let me say this: those affected that saw the vote are grateful.
Good, because my gut reaction was, why don't we just wait till next year? But then I just assumed that there was a good reason you were doing it. So makes sense to me, Kathy. Thank you.
You're welcome, Tim.
All right. I think I've called on everyone but Andrew.
I think I'm fine with it. The only one, Kathy, is we just need to make sure that the money goes into the individual budgets so that we have a good trend.
Yep, agree.
So it's not just a lump sum.
Agree.
All right, do we have a motion on Article 7, or do we want to hold? Ready to vote?
I move that we support Article 7 as written.
Second.
Roll call vote, Eric,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Marcy is aye. All right. Article 8 is, this article will allow cable funds which are received through agreements that the town has with Verizon, Comcast, and Charter to be used for the procurement and installation of a new hybrid audiovisual meeting system to be installed in the McAuliffe Hearing Room. Some of us were around, I think, a few years back when we installed OWL. Am I right? This is an improvement over the OWL system, I'm assuming.
Significant. So the next two are related. So let me kind of talk about them both so you understand where this comes from. So this is not tax money. This is a money we call PEG, Public Educational and Government money that we get from Verizon, Charter, and Comcast. A little piece of the case. So for those that still have full cable and not just streaming, we get a little bit of money from each customer that those three turn over to us. It's about $200,000 a year right now. It used to be a little bit more, but people are starting to use the traditional cable, get less and less. So that money continues to go down slowly but surely. So there are state laws that govern how this money is supposed to be appropriated. We were never doing it right before, so we're trying to do it right now for the first time. So this money's been accumulating in an account that the town has till we can appropriate it appropriately. So the first thing we wanted to do is Matt Probst has been recommending that we upgrade the McAuliffe Hearing Room to a state-of-the-art Zoom system. So it's going to be Zoom, but it's going to do a lot of stuff. It's going to do AI. It probably can do minutes, et cetera. So that is what that first article is meant to fund, is take a piece of that. There's about $300,000 in the account right now. Take a piece of that. It's going to cost something around $110,000. Matt Probst and Jay Montijo have been working on this for a while. Matt's pretty excited about it. Jay is too. Last time they talked to us, they were still disagreeing on one aspect of it, so they're trying to get that all worked out. So we've got a final number. But this is not tax money. This is PEG money that has to be spent on stuff like this. So this is the first time you've ever seen this type of article. Going forward, you'll see it every annual town meeting as far as an appropriation of these funds. So the first piece the town's going to keep and redo the McAuliffe Hearing Room. You won't need Sam to do the recording like they do right now. So you supposedly you walk in, push a button, and everything works great and much, much better than the OWL system. The second article relates to Southborough Access Media. Southborough Access Media was formed in 2015 or so to basically carry out the purpose of these funds. So that's why, they do all the public broadcasting, they do the recording for us, they go to town meeting, et cetera. So they are asking for money because they haven't gotten money now in a year and a half to be able to continue their work. So they're a separate legal entity. It's 501c3 run by a separate board. Lisa Braccio is actually on the board. So there's 3 people on the board. They have their own payroll. They have their own recording studio in Trotter, which they pay rent for. So this is their appropriation for the next through next June 30th, and then they'll ask for another appropriation at annual town meeting. So the money that it's got to get squared away. So you'll see the money in there soon, but we haven't gotten it finalized because we've got to get Jay and Matt Probst to finalize the proposal for the actual system in the McAuliffe Hearing Room.
Kathy, will we also get how much is the budget for Sam?
They are not going to do it this time. It's in the contract, though, I will say that, Andrew. So we've got a whole new, we've signed a new contract with Sam that's a very substantive contract. Before we had a one-page document. So this is a real contract, been vetted by town council, gone back and forth many times. So in that, so for the annual town meeting process, yes, they will come forward during the budget process, just like every other department does, and present a budget that we would then work for as far as the article goes. But since they haven't gotten anything for a couple of years, we wanted to go ahead and at least give them a chance to request money for now to keep things going until June 30th.
right, so Articles 9 and 10. We'll take questions and comments.
8 and 9.
Bear-
8 and 9.
I'm
yeah.
sorry, 8 and 9. 8 and 9. I'm looking at the wrong list here. Barry, you have any thoughts, comments, or questions?
Yeah, I just want to commend the select board and also Sam Stivers, who took the lead on putting the relationship between Sam and the town on a proper legal footing. What was in existence in 2015 till recently really did the town no favors and needed to be corrected. And we went through many battles with Sam about paying for certain things that the town was forced to pay for. And while I haven't seen the contract, it sounds like they put it in a situation where we have a lot more control over that going forward. And I think that's a great service to the town. So thank you.
And Barry, you're right to give kudos to Sam. He absolutely was instrumental in this. So legal fees will be covered by these, just so you know, going forward, will be covered by this funds. We got that clarified for sure. That was one of our arguing points last time. So yeah, the contract's good, it's solid, and we do have control over the funds.
All right. Thank you. And kudos to Sam. I do see him there in the audience, so he probably hears you. Howard.
Thank you. So you mentioned 110,000 roughly for the museum system. I'll get the J of what that covers. How much is in the account? Because you mentioned that plus Sam, and I'm assuming they don't want a small amount because it covers salaries, but you also mentioned it was a multi-year pool. Is there?
So they asked for salaries from, probably from this past, because they didn't get anything. They haven't got anything for a long time. So they're going to go back, I think. I've seen their number. They know what, so there's between 250 and 300, Howard. I'm very confident of that range. It's, it comes in every month. So that's what I think the number is right now. So they are going to ask for, a year's worth of salaries. That's their main expense. And they've got some capital needs too that they're going to ask money for too.
Okay, but we have enough to cover it, I'm assuming. So.
Oh, well, we're not going to give them more than we have. So that's they're being given a cap, and then they're being asked to. So Andrew, they really are showing us where it's coming from. So there is sort of a budget as far as what makes up what they're asking for. So yeah, we're going to make sure that they're not asking for more than we have because that would not be good.
I'm also concerned about the conference system. I've seen scope creep every time. I was at 110. Hopefully, we'll stay at 110. So. But I'll talk to Jay about what's actually involved in that. So thanks.
Okay.
Larry.
No issues. I think both of these are excellent ideas.
Eric.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Andrew.
Kathy, does the contract include the cost for IM Media to do the town meetings?
It's an example of what they could do, but there's no requirement. We can certainly request it, but town clerk doesn't necessarily want to go that way, so he wants his flexibility as far as how to do that. So it's not required. We can certainly request it. That's one of the things that we can ask for.
Should we add an extra article to pay for that out of these funds? I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense.
To pay for what?
The cost of broadcasting town meeting through Southborough Access Media. I mean, it's basically we're subsidizing them not being able to do what we need them to do.
I like that idea as well. Yeah, there's just frankly there is more than enough equipment in that auditorium to do what we need to do, and we keep bringing the outside companies to do it. So
But either they can't do it or they need to do it, but I don't want to give them extra money and then us also have to pay out of the general fund for something that. Or whether or not one of these articles can be amended to include that. Same operating budget and the cost of broadcasting town meeting through Southborough Access Media.
Well, it sounds like we might want to hold on, and vote this later, but I think that's a great question because we do often get a lot of questions around the funding of town meeting IT, so.
But yeah, but the other one on the McAuliffe room, I think having a new system in there would be good. But again, we're spending $110,000 of our money to make Sam's life easier and not have to do the broadcasting. So there should be an offset on the other side in terms of what their budget request is.
Okay. I appreciate those comments, Andrew, for sure. Tim, you have any comments on this one? Any comments or questions?
I don't know if you can see me. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I couldn't see you there. All right. What do you think, folks? Andrew, you want to hold this until we get a little more clarification on the articles, or we're going to be having at least one more meeting?
I'm fairly confident select board's not going to change this article. You may not support it, but I don't think we're going to change this article.
Okay, so there's that. We can vote it as is. You want to vote them separately?
Flexibility, control over how this money gets spent in this contract. So I think that with the work that's been done on the contract, which took months, believe me, to really get it to signed, lots of iterations, that we're pretty comfortable that we are in a pretty good place with Southborough Access Media. The contract's cancelable too, by the way, so we're not locked in.
All right, do we have a motion then on?
Do we want to do just Article 8 for now?
That's what I'm thinking, maybe Article 8, and we'll wait on 9.
Okay. I move that advisory supports Article 8 as written.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Barry?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Marcy's aye. All right, we will hold on Article 9 for now. Article 10 as well, Planning Board, I believe, is interested in coming to present to us on Article 10. They already have a slide deck. I know some of you saw it last night on the Planning Board meeting. So unless anyone's opposed, I would recommend maybe tabling discussion on Article 10 till that meeting.
Fine with me.
Okay, does everyone agree? All right, last but not least on our article review here is Article 11, which is related to establishment of a town government structure committee who will review and propose changes to Southborough's government to improve efficiency and effectiveness, considering options such as adjusting elected positions, transitioning to a town manager system, allowing remote participation, and also holding at least 3 public forums to engage the community and gather input. So basically this committee, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, would be appointed by Select Board and would be a recommending committee back to Select Board on, you know, what they find over the course of, looks like about a year and a half, I think, through June of 27. So they would review the structure, government purpose for modernization, efficiency, and effectiveness. So
Does anybody,
I know Select Board is in favor of this.
does anybody think we need to do any of these things? So the Select Board, Andrew Pfaff asked me this question: why not do this as an ad hoc? Why go through town meeting? Well, the feeling on the Select Board was that if you went to town meeting with this, you would get them involved early on. No decisions are being made. I mean, we've done this, you know, a couple times as far as committees like this, but you know, the more you get involved in things, the more you realize how inefficient our structure is in certain ways. There's 350 other towns that, you know, do the same thing we do. So we think there's probably a lot of best practices out there that we are not taking advantage of. So we just think it's time to take a look at the overall structure, again, like we did a few years ago, where we ended up making some pretty significant changes. Tim Martell, were you on that committee?
I was on that committee. That was my entry.
Okay, so you know what time. So anyway, I don't know where this goes. This is just a, chance to take a look at almost everything.
All
A couple
right.
of questions, Kathy, if that's okay, Marcy.
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead, Tim.
Have you considered asking town meeting to create the committee?
Town meeting itself to create the committee by appointing the people on it?
Yep.
No. We talked about either doing an ad hoc where it's like board would do it, right? Or doing it this way, which is at least bring the concept to town meeting so that we didn't talk about actually having town meeting appoint the people on this committee.
Yeah, I only bring it up as a potential idea because sometimes in this area we tend to fail repeatedly before town meeting comes around and approves the idea. So
I had thought about that, but boy, that sounds like it could be a little unwieldy as far as asking for specific.
I'm sure Paul would love to facilitate.
Anyway, so
You got the clickers.
We got the clickers. Yeah, it's just an idea because if town meeting gets to appoint their own members for changing town structure, it might generate more buy-in quicker.
Maybe, but then, when I raise my hand and say, I appoint Tim Martell, and Tim says, I'm not doing it. I don't, it's hard for me to envision how that would work for that town meeting to sit there and just start picking
Yeah,
people.
it's definitely in the rules. I don't think we've ever done it, but.
So I'm happy to float that to other members. You got two here tonight. Not sure what they think. We've called a meeting tonight, so we can talk. So Marguerite, is Tim Fling still here? I don't know what you guys think about.
Yep, Tim is still here. I think if town meeting did it, it would be very interesting. I'm not at the ballot box, maybe vote on a ballot, but I don't see town meeting doing it because assuming that town meeting would only put people in that they liked, would assume that town meeting only had one opinion, and there's an opinion for every person in the room, basically. So you could have a committee that most of them hated, but some of them liked, and I think it would not necessarily be.
I think everybody would have to be voted in. Everybody on the committee would have to have at least a majority vote. So they'd have that going for them. They would have a clear mandate from town meeting to look at how to change the town and how it operates, right? So if a board comes back to town meeting and says, we think that this body should be representative moving forward, right? That's very different than the select board coming to town meeting and saying, we don't want to talk to you ever again, just send a representative.
Okay, I don't know. I'll defer to Tim. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know about the town meeting side of it. It's interesting. It's something I haven't thought about until right now. I would think a ballot box thing would be a little cleaner. I don't know exactly how you would do this because, right now it'd be like an application, you'd come back and then it'd be an appointment. There's a certain level of vetting, and then within this, there is a not serving as an elected official piece as well. I'm not quite sure how either one would go, to be honest.
So we only have one meeting where we're supposed to sign this warrant, October 7th, next week. So I'm not sure, Tim, how we could take it off and say, let's talk about it some more and do
It's
it.
just an idea, Kathy.
Excuse me?
And I kind of think especially if you did like an approval voting system where you said, okay, you have people send in their name, right? Whatever. And if they want to write a one pager and you put it on the table, fine. And then you get up there and you have the clickers, you put, okay, Tim Martell, I would like Tim. And you can go through and you can vote for everybody. You can vote for one person, and then you just total up the number of votes in ascending order, and you picked whatever the top 5, 7, 9, whatever the number of committee members is, and you call it a day. It'd be an interesting way to do it.
To add to that, the only way I could kind of see that working really well, like Andrew's way, would be close to that. I could see maybe some sort of same way an elected board comes forward. You need to get so many signatures to show up at town meeting to be able to be voted on. I think if there was something like that, I could maybe be behind it, where you'd have to show up and do sort of the same thing an elected board has to do, where you have to get at least a number of signatures that kind of make your run official. I kind of think that would put some level of effort that you're willing to put the effort in.
So to play devil's advocate with what Tim proposed, the advantage of appointing people is you have a chance to appoint or find people with appropriate, what you believe are appropriate backgrounds, right? That can do this work, get a variety of people that you think would work well together. Tim, were you on the first or second one?
I was on the second one.
Okay. Well, the first one was interesting, as you may remember.
Yes.
I
was on the second one because I was dead set against the first one.
So, it's not like this committee is going to make a decision. It's going to, research, look at other towns, come back with some recommendations, and then town meeting will decide whether it wants to take them up on those recommendations. So I don't know. I just think it sounds like almost a little bit of a free fall if you open this up to a town meeting.
Hey, Tim, can I ask, I'm new at this, what is the concern with just having them appointed? Because I think it would be chaos just based on the limited experience of time, but what's the concern that you have?
So historically, a lot of these types of votes fail at town meeting for reasons. Resistance to change, suspiciousness. People can be suspicious. The example I gave before, if the select board created a committee, appointed its own people, and those people went to town meeting and said, we want this to be representative, you're basically telling citizens that they can't come to town meeting anymore, right? And that's the kind of message that really should not come from a select board or their own people.
I see your point, and weirdly, this warrant article is something that should be taken up every 10 years just as a matter of course to see what we need to change in governance. It shouldn't be.
We're not going to make a decision tonight on this. So it sounds like you guys don't want to vote on this yet. So I will make sure that I pass this along on October 7th. And we can discuss it and decide whether we want to change this or not.
Thank you, Kathy. I think that makes sense. I appreciate this idea, Tim. I never thought of it and realized that town meeting has this authority. So
I don't remember it ever happening, right, Tim?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I don't either.
I don't think it could work before, in the age before clickers.
Okay. All right. Well,
Larry's got his hand up too, Marcy.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, right. I wanted to echo what was said. I think this article is well written. In fact, it solves all of the issues I had with the cemetery article. It tells you who's appointing them, how many there are, what their charter is. But I do agree with the sentiment that's been expressed here that there might be suspicion if there are 7 members and they're all selected by the select board. It might taint people's opinion of what this is doing. Because
think about having a dual appointment. We looked at, you could. Last time we did this, as far as I know, was Public Works Planning Board, and that was dual appointment Planning Board, Select Board, and that was a disaster. And that's all I'm going to say, disaster. So therefore, we decided not to do it that way and split the appointments between make up one moderator and Select Board or whatever. So we did talk about splitting the appointment authority so that Select Board didn't appoint all 7, but then based on that recent history of Public Works Planning Board and how poorly that went, we decided to keep it with Select Board.
although the MTC is split. I mean, I think there are like 5 members and 2 of them are select board, and I used to know what the other ones were, and I know Tim wrote this, but they were split across multiple appointing groups.
School, Larry, and the school never does appoint anyone, I don't think, right? I don't think that actually works as well as it was intended to either.
I think we would get better traction to Tim's if we had this one both sponsored between select board and moderator and some of the positions, since it's so heavily on town meeting participation, your representative town meeting, et cetera. It might make sense to have it co-sponsored select board moderator and have a couple positions as moderator.
Most sponsored, but then as far as appointment authority, having select board appoint so many and moderator so many.
I think that would not a bad idea for passing town meeting with any suspicion. Because it kind of covers both sides, right? It covers you're structuring, the town effectively, but also town meeting effectively. So you kind of cover both sides between the moderator and select board.
Yeah, so section 41-14 basically says town meeting can vote to do whatever it wants. Like, as long as it's not running afoul of state law, of course. Look at 41-15 when you have a chance. It's not very detailed, unfortunately.
All right, I think we'll table this for now. Select board's going to look at it more. And we could take a vote at our next meeting or town meeting. Either one.
So Marcy, can you send a summary of what you voted on tonight? I haven't written it down. I think I remember, but just to make it clear in what the votes were, and what you're not ready to vote on, so I can make sure I report back to select board on Tuesday.
We'll summarize in an email. Great idea, Kathy.
Marcy, I can do that from the minutes.
Oh, thank you, Claire. See you there.
That's why I'm sitting here.
Even better. Even better. All right. So I think that concludes the warrant article discussion for tonight. We covered a lot of ground. I don't know if select board wants to continue on or not.
No, we can go. We can go home. Marguerite, can you adjourn
Yes,
us?
do I have a motion to adjourn the select board meeting?
So moved.
And a second. Okay. Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. Fling.
Aye.
Ms. Landry. Aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you for your help.
And Marcy, you did a great job on this
You
meeting tonight.
did.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So nice to see everybody again too. So
All
thank you.
right. All right. Good night, all.
And then
All right.
maybe in the audience if you can.
Howard, I couldn't hear what you said. What did you say?
I'm sorry, Carl was waving his hand, putting his hand up and down in the
Oh,
audience.
gosh. Okay. All right. Can we bring Carl over for comment so he doesn't have to wait till the end? Okay. What is this?
Carl, you're in. Still nothing.
No.
Bueller.
Carl, can you hear us? All right.
Carl, I would just send, us, the advisory committee an email if you have a question.
Carl, you've unmuted. Now if you speak, can we say something new? All right, we don't hear a thing. All right, sorry. Sorry about that. All right. Going back to our agenda, item number 4, committee member updates, pre-K through 8. It was a specific request from members just to hear briefly from Eric. I know we're going to probably have more info at other meetings and later dates. So Eric, you want to give us an update briefly?
Sure. And so the main work stream really it's focused on 2 areas. One is there's this thing that they call the matrix, which is basically a representation of the various options that are being considered outside of the original Mary building proposal. And then coupled within that is what they call the heat map, which is an evaluation of the educational impacts of those various options. And so thank Andrew for the support on this over the past several months and with the rest of the team. But basically in a nutshell, there were 9 options, including the original school that was voted down. 3 of the options involves in some way, shape, or form an expansion of the Finn site to add grades, either 1 grade or 2 grades. And then manipulation of other schools, including Trotter, adding a grade there, and would involve shutting down Neary. There were 3 options that involved a variation of a Neary renovation, starting with the most minimal, going through a full renovation, the ADA compliance, which, by the way, is the one that the school committee actually verbally is said they support. Not to say that the other ones couldn't meet the educational needs of the town, but they said, hey, look, we like the full renovation of Neary given the current options on the table. And then the last 2, one was the Legacy Neary, which was voted in May, and then another option, which candidly didn't have a whole lot of work put into it. It was a brand new K through 5. I would say most of the emphasis has been in trying to understand the impact on trying to adjust the fence site and also understand the Neary renovation. So the parameters involved, in addition to the educational considerations, because of course education is critical, but obviously cost and other parameters. One is cost, and this is where Andrew was particularly helpful. Our basis for estimating, and these are all assumption-driven analyses, clearly there will have to be more work done, but was to leverage the existing data sets from the Neary Building Committee work that was done, because as we know, there was a ton of work done. Clearly costs evolve, inflation happens, but nonetheless, as a starting point, given the time frame that we have and literally no budget or desire to engage with outside parties, we use the existing data sets that we could, applied some assumptions around that. Another parameter was potentially looking at getting MSBA funding, recognizing that the Neary or the Legacy project, where we decided to forego renewing the funding proposal, but we did take into account, try to understand or estimate, could there be funding, because there are certainly dollars available, as Andrew knows, for renovations, et cetera. Another consideration was any potential cost savings. And there were some other implications, other considerations. Let's see, what was it? Impact on property values, a lot of it probably more subjective, but the main drivers are going to be cost and the educational considerations. And so that's it in a nutshell. And then the theme here is we're wrapping up the analysis, and Tim wants to put it in front of the select board for a more formal report out at the next meeting, which I think is a couple of weeks. I can't get all the meeting dates clear in my head, but whatever the next select board meeting is we would have a more formal report out to them and the public. That's it. Happy to answer any questions that I can.
Any questions tonight on the brief update? Howard?
No, that was thorough. Thank you. Appreciate all the work you're doing on this. I've been trying to keep up and follow along and not always successful. So thank you for the attention.
Anyone else? Any questions? Thank you, Eric, for all the time you're spending on that committee. All right. We look forward to the full report out. All right. Next up is signing authority. Andrew, can you describe why we need signing authority?
This is something we had voted on years ago when I took over chair from Kathy. It's basically the committee. Yeah, Carla requires the committee to take a vote to give the chair basically signing authority to sign our 2 invoices we get a year for Claire, and I think the $100 we pay for the Association of Town Financial Committees. But yeah, so that's basically.
Okay.
Oh, I move that we approve Marcy to have such signing authority to approve those expenses.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Eric?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Marcy is aye. All right, moving along, we have our minutes from July 15th. Thank you, Claire. Beautiful draft we received from you. I didn't have any changes. I don't know if anyone else did. Does anyone have any edits or changes to the minutes of July 15th?
No, I thought they were great.
Yeah, no, I had nothing. I moved that we accept the minutes as presented.
All right, a second. Andrew has a second. Roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Barry?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
All right. Eric?
Aye.
Marcy is aye. Thank you, Claire. All right. Last but not least, any other business brought forth to the committee? Anyone have any?
I think
General.
we're planning on having one more meeting with planning board on
Yes.
the PDU, and we'll cover up anything left in the warrant that we
Yes.
haven't covered.
I think that would make sense. And we also reserved a room at town meeting in case it's needed, but we'll submit an agenda if that's the case. But the room is reserved. The town clerk did send an email on that. So I will begin working immediately to find out when planning board can meet with us and get some dates out to you ASAP. But probably I was looking tentatively at maybe around the 15th. That would be after select board. So the final language would be in the warrant by then. I believe she mentioned the 7th. If I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if the 15th or that week would work for folks.
The 14th or the 14th was better for me because 15th is historical.
Okay.
So one of us, Annie or I, have to put Dottie down.
Well, likewise, it'll work better for me too. So, all right, would the 14th work as a tentative date for folks? Tim, you have your hand up.
I wanted to talk, I'm sorry, I wanted to go back to the July 15 minutes after we're done with this.
Okay, sure. All right, we will do that.
I won't be available on the 14th. I have another commitment.
All right. Well, we're guessing a little bit as to whether or not planning would be available that night too. So maybe it's best if I send out a poll.
The Wednesday they might not have historical.
Oh, okay. All right.
15th is Wednesday. I can do your poll, Marcy. We'll figure it out that way.
Okay. We're going to shoot for that week.
Yeah.
I think next week there's other meetings that we should listen to and tune into. But we
Send
will
out a
shoot
doodle.
for that week. Yeah. So I'll send a doodle. 14th, 15th, 16th will probably be the dates proposed, assuming planning can join us.
And Marcy, that's for the ADU discussion or for broadly?
Yes.
Okay.
For ADU and then any other items that we didn't take a vote on tonight that we want to revisit, or it should be a brief meeting. I mean, tonight's meeting was a pretty long one. All right. Tim, back to the minutes.
Yeah, sorry. Also, sorry if this was resolved. I just missed it somehow. Item 6, vote on fiscal year 25 interdepartmental transfers. I see the motion, I see the discussion, I don't see the vote.
Item 6.
Hang on, I'm going back in my notes.
Motion. Yeah, you're right. I don't think we just need to add the vote in
I
there.
have that it was that 6 was voted and Howard was the only nay.
To do the interdepartmental transfers?
I think there was an A on the interview.
I thought we might have
No,
been.
it's on the 3 weeks vacation. Is that the one?
No,
you're
on the
talking about?
vote from the minutes, Claire. So it was,
July 15th.
yeah, in the minutes from July 15th, line 37 is the vote on the interdepartmental transfers.
Oh.
I think Tim's right. I think we're
Sorry,
missing
I thought you were talking about
the vote, the vote count from that motion, which I think was unanimous.
Yeah, it's not listed there. So Claire, you want to edit that and then we can revote at the next meeting, perhaps?
That's fine.
Okay.
Or assuming it was unanimous, we take that edit.
I see the motion is there and the vote isn't. All right, I'll just go back and check it out in the script.
I would just say, I move that we amend the minutes to include the unanimous vote as long as it was unanimous. If not, we'll revote it in the next meeting.
All right. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Tim?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Marcy's aye. All right. I think, let's see here. My
Public
agenda.
comment.
Any public comment?
Carl is gone, so.
Is Carl still with us? Could try again. Any other public comment? Don't see any hands raised. All right.
Motion
We have a
to
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Marcy's aye. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
job, Marcy.
Yeah,
For
Marcy.
taking-
Wow.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.